Welcome back to the J&D Bodyworks podcast. This is the last podcast of 2023, and what a year it's been, and what a final podcast episode. Today, we have an absolute legend in the car community. He's probably sold more 911s than any Porsche dealership in New York. He's the reason why you and I can still get really low, great examples of our favorite collector's cars. He's gonna tell you about how he got into the business, what he did before, some amazing stories, and if you wait till the end, he's gonna tell you what he thinks are the best buys for 2024. Without further ado, please welcome Ryan Friedman.
So Ryan rolled up in a Maybach, that is his now mobile office. He put up a post yesterday with the song Can't Knock the Hustle.
Well, that's the 62S that we just got. That's going to be the upgraded version.
So right now we're in the
office.
temporary mobile office.
So we started with a condo, which is the 57S, and now we got into like a single family dwelling.
But that one's white, right?
Yeah, that one's
So that
white.
was only for weddings, right?
Only a lot more than weddings. We got New Year's Eve coming up.
It's a way white.
We got Harrison's birthday coming up. It's okay.
Harrison's birthday. That's good.
You guys can borrow if you want.
Harrison, how old are you gonna be?
24.
All right, you single, you got a girl? Oh, all right,
That's
guys.
why we got
Ladies, we're gonna post up a picture of
So who
Harrison.
posted that song? That was your song?
I gotta be honest, it was one of the ones that was just automated in. I rarely do posting, but the social media I did from day one, everything.
Okay.
And then once Harrison got involved, I felt I was always ahead of the curve when I was younger starting things, whether it was this business or another business I was in. But I'm 38 years old now. I have some gray hair, and what I've realized is that I'm literally antiquated. Like so, you know, a lot of these guys do all the social media for us now, and it's much clearer and better and targeted towards the younger audiences.
Yeah.
How much of the business do you get from social media?
So it grows. It's been growing year after year, but a tremendous amount. I would say more than sales. It's cars being offered to us to be bought. It's tremendous. It's a lot of people, believe it or not, they're not in the selling mode of their own vehicle, and they basically see something that we have that's so rare, and they actually have it. So that's how you find out that a person does have that other, bookend of the car. If they made 3 of these one cars, you have one, now you know that this guy does, and that was the bait that drew him in, so to speak. He may not sell it today, but he could sell it in a year, and trust me, I'm calling him every freaking other week, whatever, until he sells it to me. Eventually he will.
And you're calling him?
Oh, I'm calling.
It's you yourself.
Yeah,
You don't have a Heather that does it?
No. So I carry 2 phones.
Okay.
One is my personal phone, which everyone has regardless. And then one is my 516-888-9000 plug.
Yeah, that's gonna pop up on the screen.
My phone number is for the business line, which when I started the business, I bought a number because I thought it was good to have a good, clean number. But I kept it as my cell, and still to this day, I answer every phone call that comes into the office. It's crazy. But if I miss the call or I don't want to take the call, it goes right to my sales manager or another person in the office. But, when I started the business and I put my name in front of it, that was something that was important to me, is just to stand behind it. But, growing to a point where you're doing like 50 somewhat cars a month in sales and 50 purchases, it's hard to deal with everything. Now I have like 15, 16 people that work for us and help support the business, but still, even to this day, I answer every phone. And another level of sickness, I'm not lying, this is completely true. I answer the phone in the shower. I take my phone in the shower.
Wow.
Yeah, I bought a car the other day that came on a post. This is going the reverse side of buying, and basically another dealer offered a car online, a turbo, a 997.1 in gray, 20,000 miles. It said price $92,500. Again, I don't care if anyone sees what the cars sell for or whatever, or I buy them for, because go find that other puzzle piece type of car. But anyway, he said the ink is still wet on the check from when he bought the car. So then I'm in the shower, and I see that car right there, and I call the guy right away, and he's like, oh. He's like, all right, fine. He goes, but since you're buying it, he's like, do I have to do the tires that I said I'll do in there? I'm like, no. I'll take the car, no problem.
How long are your showers? Like, are you in there for 30 minutes? Like, what?
How many deals per shower?
Yeah.
You know what? I'll be honest. So, it's funny you say that, because literally my favorite times of the day or night or whatever are like midnight to like 3 in the morning. I'm up because nobody bothers me. No one can really call me. Even West Coast people, it's like they're 10, 11 o'clock, they're winding down. So like shower time, like even if that shower is at 2 in the afternoon, actually I'm still being bothered. But I'm getting like a half. It's like you're getting a little bit of both. But in all honesty, the showers are pretty long.
My dad always says behind every successful business owner is a miserable business owner.
It's true.
Like
Behind every business.
Yeah, successful business. Yeah, and it is true.
I love what I do.
In case anyone's wondering, I'm the more miserable of the two of us.
Oh yeah.
Keep going.
No, you got more hair. He's got, well, maybe you got.
I got a haircut for you.
We both have all the hair.
Ryan, I got a haircut for you.
In this
Right. How old are
shot
you guys?
has all the hair. I'm 32. He's 27.
Wow.
Yes, 27.
Again, I'm the old one, 38 years old. It's
Damn.
crazy.
You're almost dead.
So
Seriously.
where's the headquarters?
Glen Cove, 112 Glen Street, which has some background meaning to it. It originally was Ferrari of Glen Cove. So
Very
like
cool.
when I was younger and loved cars and stuff like that, this was one of the dealers that like my father would take me by my hand when like I could literally go through your father's legs. I was that height, my head wouldn't hit his balls. That's how short I was. And I literally would walk around there like dreaming of buying a sports car, and to think like now that we're in that location is just crazy.
Did you have an inspiration or like someone that you saw? Because I have to tell you about 1 million people a day tell me that they want to do what you're doing, and it's going to be so easy.
It's impossible.
I know it's impossible, but was there someone that you saw that you're like, that is sick? Like,
No, it was my father. My father, my whole life. Whatever I did, if I didn't play a sport, I had to work. I had to have a job. It had to be in a sales position. Whether it was a sneaker store, like I wanted to be a camp counselor for like a CIT my friends are doing. My dad let me do it one summer, and he's like, "You're not doing that anymore." Like that's great. He goes, "Great. I hope you like did some relations with people, but like no, you got to get into sales." So he really pushed me like in every aspect of everything.
what did your dad do?
Yeah, so I was in the insurance business. So we dealt with claims and insurance adjustment, stuff like that.
So you were a public adjuster?
Exactly, public
For
adjuster.
properties?
For properties, correct.
Okay, and did you work for, like you had your own appraisal company basically?
My father's company that he had and built and whatnot for over the years since like the 80s. And I was groomed to go into that business and be, in a sales position. And, it's not something, let's say, be real, like everyone wants to grow up and they dream, they want to be an astronaut, they want to do this. I always loved cars, my whole life.
Okay.
I was obsessed with cars.
And just one quick question too.
Yeah.
Is cars your passion now, or is the business your passion?
The business,
Is it separate from cars?
completely.
Okay, because that's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, like I love cars, but like as all my guys and people, like I have the keys to go take whatever or buy whatever essentially, and I don't want to say I could care less, but I could care less.
Yeah.
Like I enjoy buying and cultivating such a brand and like a collection of cars and a following for like the 997 turbos or Porsche in general. I love building that aspect.
But what you love is the hustle.
The hustle completely.
Yeah.
The hustle was always there in whatever I did, whether I was selling prom tickets or I was selling hair clips or I was doing whatever it was, loan officer at a mortgage bank, whatever the heck it was I was doing on side stuff growing up. It all led to what this is, So the fact that I was able to basically put, what I do, loving cars, in a mix of business, like that's just unbelievable.
There must have been hustle in the industry you were in before. Why did you leave that?
So as I grew and got older and just, like, okay, you got in your 20s and you were bred to say, so to speak, go in the business and stay in the business that you were, your family and whatever and raised in. And, as you get a little older, you kind of start scratching your head like, hold on, like, and it goes with anything in life. You could say, I want to make my own path, or like there's something that's scratching you, so to speak, and you don't know what it is. So the long story short is, as I was getting older, I said, you know what, I have to make a decision if I love what I do or I not. I want to do something else. And it was just trying, basically. And I bought a $5,000, I think it was $5,000, around that, 560 SL. It was an 87. It was gray on gray. And, we used to go out east in the summer or whatever. Like that's where a lot of wealthy city people go. And I put out a 560 SL on Montauk Highway at a Carvel station. And within, like, literally 45 minutes, I got a call from, like, a local guy. And he's like, I'll come to my house. I'll pay you today. And I'm like, I don't even know what to do. Like, he's like, how do I drive it? License plate. I'm like, I don't even know what to do. So all I just knew was that the aspect, the transactional experience intrigued me, and I was like, you know what? All right. So we sold the car, and then I said, let's just try to repeat this. And I just went out and was able to just buy more of that same car. I did 560 SLs, the 80s, because that was like
Hampton's car.
Yeah, and it was a good, cheap, cheater type of car that like. They finally get out of the Long Island Expressway.
Yeah. I have a best friend that did the same thing.
This
with
red
E30s,
560 SL, it's dreamy, and so that's kind of what really it started from, and no intention of going into the Porsche world. My cousin Barrett Friedman, he kind of really pushed me into it. I always loved Porsche. My father's first sports car was a Porsche, but he kind of got me in that direction, and then kind of when it took off.
Your dad's first sports car, you said?
Yeah.
And what was that?
91 C2 cab in a Tiptronic.
Color?
Wow.
Red. Guards red.
Interior?
Black.
Okay.
And I'll never forget when we were on the Bell Parkway. He was taking us to Rollin' Roaster because my dad grew up in Brooklyn, and we were
What's
getting.
Rollin' Roaster?
You never had Rollin' Roaster?
I have not.
Oh, come on.
We're
You had to have Rollin' Roaster. No.
Must have been in Brooklyn twice.
So good. All right. Anyways, long story short is we were going there. We were getting off at the exit, and me and my sister were fighting in the back seats because in these Porsches, that's what my dad loved. Is that it's your
Head
family
back
can go in,
seats.
and he's trying to whack us. And as he's going off, he veers off, and the car's brand new. It knocks the mirror off, and I was so pissed off.
on the guardrail.
No, it was another car. Like he was going to get off the exit, and like he like swung to the left, and just other car clipped him. So like that also just that memory, and like it's not going to be original, and this and that, and like these are like tattoos that I just like have in my mind from.
What's that car worth today? If you had to put a number on it.
So it's so funny. Literally one of like the 10th cars that we bought as I was just evolving was I found that exact. It wasn't
Really?
his, but the same car with like 17,000 miles. So the SLs I was buying at first, the idea was not like low mileage or it was like just good clean cars.
Just like pop it out front.
Right.
It's cheap to buy, cheap to sell.
Right. So then when I first, it's so funny the irony how you just brought this up because I
Oh,
never
real
actually
quick.
fully
How much
thought
were
about
you? How much were you buying them for roughly, and how much were you selling them for roughly?
5,000 selling them for 10,000.
Okay.
Like that. Maybe 8,000 selling them for 15.
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
change the hood pad in the engine. I would put a new top on it, new tires.
What year was this?
7 years ago, 2017, 2016.
Wow, not that long ago.
2016.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere around then. So yeah, so the
And you were 31.
30 when I was 31. Yeah. Okay. So the red Porsche, when I saw one come available with 17,000 miles, I was like, wow, this is like a time capsule version of what you had. It could be somewhat sentimental, whatever. I bought it, paid top dollar, couldn't make money on it because I didn't understand and like I didn't have that edge yet. But then I was so intrigued about finding low mileage cars. That it was really more so low mileage clean cars and rare cars that would come first, not a certain brand. So like E36 M3s were a good cheap cheater at that point. Whether it was a Cooper or convertible or E46 M3s were awesome, cars, summer cars, stuff like that. And literally it kind of just grew traction. At that time I was also engaged. I wasn't, I was about to get married, about to have a kid. And then you really at a crossroads deciding, like, am I going to take this gamble and go into...
Is this my life?
Yeah, or the cars or stay in the family business. And I said, I wanted to do the cars, and I took that chance. My wife now, back then, stood behind me and completely pushed me to do it, and it was a great support system. You need to have a great wife and to be able to be any business owner. Never worked in a car dealership, never... So I came in like the back door. I never, like, my father loved cars, I loved cars. He never had more than one sports car, but every weekend we'd go to the dealership, whether they were open or closed, peeking in the window, open, walking around, but never worked in a dealership, never was a detailer to a manager to this to that. So really I learned the process just from my father, in all honesty, being that annoying Jewish guy, just bothering every salesman at the Ferrari dealer or Porsche dealer. Let me see this. Never bought anything and wasted their time. But just that whole experience, I got to learn it and understand it. And I don't know, like some people, certain things attract and some things they don't. Like for some reason, I was just never bored of just reading about things, learning. And there was slowly in between phases where I was helping buy certain cars for certain dealers. And I realized that I had a good talent, not only of finding the cars, because you could find these cars, but a lot also... What I do that most people don't do, such as franchise stores, are buying cars sight unseen, out of state, wiring money to a stranger.
How often is that a disaster?
Well, listen, we bought 54 cars last month. We thought we got scammed on one of them, but we didn't, and it was fine. But have I been scammed in my life before? Absolutely.
Well, if you get it, you're like, I wish I saw this.
I don't care about condition, meaning anything that I'm not concerned about. Because also, if I miss something, it's fine. It's a law of averages, whatever. But if I get concerned about wiring money to a person that's gonna disappear. That's my paranoia. We've grown and we've got ways to do background checks and do certain things that make the process a lot more safer and stuff like that. If there's a red flag, I don't do it. But that people don't do that. So, but it's not only just buying them. It's being able to capture that person's attention and be able to find the common denominator, so to speak, with a stranger and make them feel like they're your friend. That was something that I had learned from my other businesses, childhood growth, when my father molded me. He always said, like, you start as a piece of clay and then there's a warrior. But how do you think he got there? Like, every little aspect of it had to be built and sculpted.
So how far up the mountain did you get before you felt like this is all I need to do? like I don't need to also work in the business? Like when were you like, I can support myself based on this?
It was when I said to myself, I didn't, in a way, I didn't have the success to decide to beat that decision yet. Had the dream and the vision, and I had the ability to take the risk. And I made a decision that the risk was worth the reward if it could be successful. And if it wasn't, my happiness, so to speak, was worth it as well. So whether it was a sacrifice financially, that's why also to me, like these young guys who work for me and stuff, like they go crazy over these cars. Like to me, it's I don't want to say like this that it's just a piece of metal, but like when you have kids and you have a wife and you have family, like things come more important. But like I don't go like I used to go crazy over a scratch or a mark or this or that. It is what it is. It wasn't really like, okay, I was successful enough to say I could continue to do this. It was more like, this is what I really wanted to do.
And by any means, you were
I'm
like,
going to make it work.
Doing it.
I said I'm going to make it work. There's no ifs, ands, or buts.
But how many cars in, or how much time in, were you like, that's it?
I'll give you more further. So when I was doing both businesses, this is a good point to bring up. Learning a lot with wiring money and doing transactions, and like anything you do, you can't be a baseball player and a basketball player and be like the MVP of both, right? So I was juggling two balls, and it really gets to a point was like, at what point are you juggling two things when
drop a ball?
Something's dropping on one side, and which one are you caring about more? So there was a turning point. One day I was coming from an insurance meeting, going out east, and I was wiring money to buy a car, and long story short is the guy gave me the wrong wire info, and it was a Friday. He gave me the right wire info, but it was on a receipt to a different bank, so I wired it to TD Bank instead of Bank of America. Now, listen, I understand like it could bounce back or whatever, but this is a Friday. This is new for me. This is $98,000. This is when I was getting to a point where buying bigger cars, and this money was like everything to me. Right at that point, everything.
This is your own money?
Yeah.
You still play with your own money?
I started with a few cars for my father that he gave me to sell, and then we took some of the proceeds, which is like $200,000, and that's really where it grew. And then just really profit and taxes was only being paid, and credit line slowly grew, but very small. And it was just like one car, like horse trading. But back to the story with what happened. A turning point was mainly when I was driving out east. I wired money, and then it was like 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and I get the call. I'm still driving, and the customer's like, "I didn't get the wire." And I'm like, "He's like, you sent it today. I would get it today." And I called the bank or whatever, and he's like, "Bank of America." I'm like, "No, TD Bank." He's like, "No, it's Bank of America." I'm like, "Look at your text message." And he goes like, "Oh no, that's the receipt from a previous." I'm like, "Dude." So I pulled over on the side of the road. I felt like I was going to throw up. Partially what it was it was a Friday, like it was Thursday night before. I went out, I was drinking, I was a little hungover. So at that point I said, that's it. Something's got to give. So I said, you know what? I stopped drinking. I said, I need to work. Saturdays and Sundays need to be Mondays. If I'm going to do both, I got to work like 24 hours. I gave up friends, I gave up social life, I gave up going out. I completely made this a like tunnel vision, like a horse race.
I'm getting it done.
Yeah, I'm getting it done. It's just there's nothing getting in my way, and people still to this day say, "Did you stop drinking because you were like something was wrong?" And I was like, "No, it was just one day that this instant happened."
You made the decision.
And I said, "That's it." I said, "I'm literally, I really have. I think I have some sort of traction with this, and I had this dream, this vision, and I really felt it and believed it. As crazy as that sounds." So at that point, I said, you know what? I'm going to slow down with the insurance, pick this up a little bit. And I got lucky along the way. Like my first warehouse space, a girl called me out of the blue and was like, are you looking for warehouse space? And I was like, no, but she convinced me to come look. And I was like, all right, I went to look and I'm like, wow, this is a great deal. It was like 18,000 square feet for $5,000 a month or something.
How many cars was that?
At that point, I had probably had 5, 6, 7 cars, but I was just...
How many cars could that hold?
Oh, that could hold like 80, 90 cars.
And where were you keeping them before? Just in your driveway?
My parents' garage in the Hamptons, out east, in a barn. And to the point, so we're missing also a major factor who a guy's not here. This guy, Louis. Louis, who I started the business with, he's like my sidekick, my partner in crime, everything.
Is he still with you?
He's still with us. He's still with me. Yes. I love him dearly.
Still on this earth.
He's just a wacky individual. And I love him to death. He'll be my brother and partner for whatever I do, and it is what it is. But long story short with Louis is that he was my co-pilot. Like, so I lived in Manhattan, and I left the cars in the Hamptons. If I had once we started with a website and we started like advertising, if somebody wanted an undercarriage shot, I would get in the car
Go straight out.
at 9 o'clock at night and say, Louis, get in. And we would go out east. We would get the, even if you wouldn't buy, if they wanted to see the car, oh, no, don't come to, we're like a boutique, we come to you, fake it till you make it. Like, it really was freaking like that, completely.
Yeah, and nothing's better than that drive. With your boy who's down and you're like,
it was so
we're doing
good.
it. Yeah.
Those days, we would go out on a Monday when I slowed down insurance, we were picking up traction. Louis would be in the pool with his laptop looking for cars, and I just would be pacing on the phone, doing this and that, and meeting with people, and just it kind of
that
just
feeling's like a drug. Yeah, it's the best.
it's like, well, it still is that good. People say, like, is it still feel like, is it now really work? And as crazy as it is now with how big it has grown, it still kind of feels like that. But like, I'd rather sit in a desk chair than pace around somewhere. I mean, we were running through my backyard. We would get ticks on our legs. It was madness.
That's awesome.
We would get the car. We would drive it to the people's house, half a block away, clean the car right before we'd show it. I mean, people never saw that. People never know that. People just think it was a rich father and giving money, and no, not at all. There's so many other phases of luck how things happened. Even now where my showroom is now, there was a fire in a building across the street from where my showroom is. And we went there because we got referred to it for our other business. And when you're standing looking at that building, you look behind you and there's this showroom. And you look inside and there was like a few Bricklins. You guys don't even know what Bricklins are.
Do I know what a Brooklyn's is?
You know.
That is the car to drag your hand out the window and smoke a cigar.
No, not Brooklyn's. Bricklin.
Bricklin, I don't know. I know what
the doors that go up.
No.
All right, you'll put a picture of it. Okay.
Fiberglass body.
Yeah, ridiculous.
Bricklin?
Yeah.
Where did it come from?
It's kind of like a vector.
American.
It's vector kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
It's like a concepty looking.
It looks like Back to the Future.
Right.
Or, I don't even know. Like,
Okay.
Long story short, the owner of the building had a bunch of those in there, and I was just like, I didn't even know what the building was. My dad's like, this is the original Ferrari dealer. And I just walked in and I made friends with the landlord, and he's like, oh, you're that kid I heard about selling cars. He goes, you have a good reputation. No one really has a good reputation in the car business. I said, I'm too young. I don't care. Like, it goes customer, car, money for me. Money's always last, and it comes if you do the right thing. And the long story short is, he just said to me, he goes, why don't you rent my place? And I was just like, what the fuck? And I was like, I can't afford that, whatever. Long story short is, months later of becoming friendly with this guy, he came to me and was like, here's the deal, like, I'm going to give you a deal you can't refuse. He gave me a situation to get that building that made it so crazy that you couldn't say no. I can't. You can't even say what it was, but basically close to free.
Okay.
For like a year, he helped me.
So I'm assuming it was free.
For a year, he helped me, but he also knew it was a good tenant that would come in eventually. He likes to invest in different things, so he also became a.
He made an investment in you.
He made an investment in me, invested in the cars. What's better to keep some of the cars you invest in a vault that you own with lock and key, whatever. And more so, I cherish my relationship with him, and so like situations like that, as I grew, as stepping stones, like I can't even believe, like, and the day I shook his hand to take the space, like, whatever, we're driving on Glen Cove Road and we see a C2 coupe for that's like beat up, and we always used to do. We have so many videos of us screaming out the windows on highway. Like, even with the Maybach, it has a megaphone. So we would scream, like, we buy our car, pull over. So literally we did this, like, 5 minutes after we left the place, and we bought the car for like $38,000. He goes, I just left Land Rover. I have to trade it to them for the tax credit. So I made a U-turn, and I went right to the Land Rover dealer, and I knew the manager, whatever, and I said, look, what are you doing with this freaking car? You're going to wholesale it. Wholesale it to me. So I bought it for like $38,000 or $40,000, and we sold it for double. Like, so then that right there, I was just like, did that just happen for it's not this. I don't believe in all this crazy stuff, but like, I don't know, there was something weird.
Right place, right time.
Yeah, but it was great. So it was a lot of luck, a lot of hard work. Every space I went into, it was like, I looked at it and I'm like, wow, like that's a big shoe, I can't fill it. And then you fill it and you're like, you're overflowing. And like, even today, before we came here, we looked at a 25,000 square foot facility just to add as additional space, because going from, for the first 3-4 years, 10, 20 cars, now to have, I think today we're at like 137 cars in inventory.
Is there ever another location like a Westchester or a, Beverly Hills?
I always thought about that, and I have people that are collectors and in the industry that are like, wow, we got to open an RFMC West, an RFMC Texas, whatever. But in all honesty, how do you put it? To manage the process and to make sure. It's just like when I say, you said, what's a pet peeve? I don't want to get into that, but like common sense. Like there's a lot of things that people should see that they don't see, and I don't like to say that I'm a control freak to oversee everything, but I have to oversee everything.
You have your
That's
name
a
on
big
the
issue.
you have your name on the
Yeah,
building.
so and not only that, but like with the way I built it with the internet and the marketing aspect, like I don't think it matters where I am. Like I think
Yeah.
New York is also an amazing hub rather than like somewhere like Portland, Oregon or something. Jab. But long story short.
That's where you're from?
No.
No.
No. Don't, trust me, you'll get comments on it.
Yeah.
No, it's funny. But where was I? I forget. Where did I lost my train?
No, that's
Locations.
Yeah, locations. Oh, other locations, right. That we built a good enough mousetrap for people to come to us. I mean,
Yeah.
we sold 49 cars last month. 9 stayed local. 40 went out of state. So,
Wow.
also, I know how to meet expectations of people that are buying cars sight unseen and what they want, right? You're always going to have that one customer in the bunch. It's just if you're in the supermarket industry and you have vegetables, you're going to have a percentage of spoilage. It's just the way it goes, right? And my philosophy is when there's no issue going on in the business, that's when I worry. Like every day that there's an issue to go over, I'm happy because that's business, right?
So we'll have a customer who's a disaster, doesn't want to pay, creates problems. It's like a nightmare, like we're losing sleep over. And then when they leave, they're like, call, like, oh, I got another car. And I'm like, Dad, do you want to deal with this guy? And he's like, yeah, of course, yeah, he's going to pay us.
It's just part of the process. I mean, like, yeah, I had a guy I sold a certain car to, Ferrari Stradale, and it had 30-something thousand miles, and I bought it on Bring a Trailer, and he was also bidding on Bring a Trailer, and he didn't buy it, and then he wanted to buy it from me right after because he saw I bought it, and then when he got the car, it was only for a few bucks more that I sold it to him. He complained about all this stuff. I'm like, listen, like you were bidding on the same car I was bidding on, So, and then, he cursed me out, wanted money back, this, that, I gave him what he wanted. 2 months later, he came back, he just wanted another $1,000. I'm like, look, like, just where does it end? Like, you're just calling me, are you in a bad mood or whatever it is? So I don't care, I gave him the other $1,000. Like, that's the other thing also, when you compare, did I work at another dealer? Did I ever work anywhere in the car industry before? No. But when the experiences I've got is like when you buy a car and you ask for a second key, the salesman's like, I don't know, it only comes with one key. Dude, get a freaking second key for that. It's $300.
Yeah, it's the cost of a good review.
Oh my God.
I think people they hear like these industry standard ways of negotiating. Like we were talking before, we started rolling about like a chip somewhere, and they're like, oh, the chip, paint this, paint that. They hear these things and they try to use them as bargaining chips, and you're like, dude, just like you said, just tell me you want $1,000 off the car.
Yeah.
Just let's get to the conversation.
So then he calls me like I get this orange G-Wagon. He calls me like the other day, and he's like, I see the call coming. I'm like, I'm not answering this. I'm like, it's my sales manager. I'm like, you deal with him. I'm like, is this guy crazy? He wants the orange G-Wagon? I'm not selling him the car. I'm like, you're going to fly here. You want to fly here? No problem. Look at it. But it's just like when you know these cars are so good and you're not finding another one that's comparable, like you got to get that type of person just thinks I'm like a salesman, whatever. Like, with all due respect, like I don't need you to buy the car. Like the one thing in my other business or other businesses I am, when you lost the sale, it was upsetting. Oh boy, you lost the deal, whatever. But he who has the car wins in my industry. Like I lost that potential buyer, but I still have the car, and it's going to sell tomorrow. And usually when that type of scenario happens, when like my father's from that mentality where like he comes around to hang around the office. He's retired now, and like he sees a customer coming, he's holding on to that tail of that customer. And I'm like, Dad, let the guy leave. Like if he doesn't want the car, it's gonna sell tomorrow. And watch, the next day it sells for $5,000 more.
Right.
Someone calls and is like, I want the car, give me $1,000 off and I'll take it. And it's an easy sale. So
what are the 3 best investment cars of 2024?
do you want to stick in Porsche world, or do you want me to just go
Anywhere you
Or
want.
3 best investments?
Okay, so let's start with what I do. In Porsche world, I would say the best hybrid of old meets new, which is like a 997, right? So
My favorite.
it's taking its depreciation. It has all the creature comforts you'd want. It's going to start. It's going to be reliable, but it still has that analog feel. Now, I'm talking anything from a Carrera to a GT3 RS.
Okay.
So if you're a collector, they're just all great price point cars.
Where's the hot spot in that gen?
Turbo or GT3.
0.1 or 0.2?
Either, right? So I would say
Okay.
more of a value buy is a point one because they made a lot more point ones than point twos.
Okay.
I like the point twos because it's more of the last generation and a little bit more updated. But you can't go wrong with either. They're great price point cars, and they're just it has that feel that you could drive a stick shift in. The newer stick shift cars, it's just I don't want to say they're garbage, but they're just
loose.
they're just not. They're not. They don't give me butterflies in my stomach. I
Okay.
work off of everything off of a feeling. They're beautiful. I love them. Whatever. We almost bought a Sport Classic the other day, a newer one, and I was really hot on it. And I was just like, you know what? Like this is a hot potato. Like the car is going to deflate and depreciate so much. And while that's cool, I'm not in the business to lose $100 grand or $150 grand on a car just to have the hot new toy.
Yeah.
So I like more of the classic stuff. Another great buy I feel is a G50 87 to 89
That's what I
Targa
need right now.
or a coupe. Like those are great cars, specifically a Targa. Targas usually are a very demanded car. Coupe everybody loves more, but from a $50,000 to a $75,000 range for an air cooled car that's very reliable, those freaking G50 cars are just bulletproof, right?
Right.
When you get into more than 964, 993s, you're getting more with leaks and was it resealed? So I would stay away from those. But also the other great price point cars I think are M3s. I think a good example today.
Still?
Yes, I still think so. This auction today with the Estrella Blue car that I had.
Okay.
If you look at the Bring a Trailer auction, you'll see that there was a lot of back and forth on that car because in Porsche world, if you had a paint to sample car that was like one of 50 something in a coupe, and then you break it down, how many of those 50 are clean, low mileage,
Right.
that's still in this country. It would be double the price, but in BMW world, you'll get enthusiasts that will say, "Oh my God, it's worth $5,000 more." So my point is, if you're buying a silver or a black one and they're still in the 40s and 50s, even though it's what MSRP was back then, the dollar is different, right? But what do you expect those cars to be? Like good 20,000 mile ones, like 20, 30,000? No, they're gonna.
Yeah.
So for 40, 50 grand, when you see the trend of like where E30s are, M3s. It's eventually going to get there. I just don't know why like BMW clientele or customers are just they don't want it to get there, or like they hate when it's going up higher.
Right.
But like it's not about the dollar amount or someone being greedy to make more money. It comes down to what does the car deserve, and like everyone goes crazy over like Laguna Seca or Phoenix Yellow.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now I have what is it Oxford Green? It's called Oxford Green.
Green
It's
is
just a
great.
freaking killer car.
That's 36.
E46.
Okay.
Under 100 produced, and even with the Estrella Blue car, it's like such low production. It's
What interior is that?
what's that E46?
Yeah, what interior is?
It is
cinnamon.
gray.
Okay.
It would be amazing if it had cinnamon.
Yeah.
But I think the gray complements that car better than.
I like
black.
the gray. People don't like the gray, but I like the gray.
Yeah, and it's era correct. Like it's
Yeah.
that's another thing. Like you're not gonna look at an older car and say, oh, I wish it had like this type of newer. If I saw an M3 with like suede inserts, it'd be like, it just
That's not
doesn't
correct.
work.
Yeah.
Right. If the generation of the B7 S4
Right.
from that era in the blue or the red or the yellow, are you kidding me? Those inserts, like
Yeah, the yellow is the car I wanted.
in everything that car. But like, so even like those cars, like all those cars that like we grew up with that were like the fucking rich kid in high school had that car. Like that's the car. That's the value car. The E36 M3.
Right.
The
E46 is my
all those cars.
my '69 Camaro.
Even like an '08 M5 stick shift or
Yeah.
or I right now have I think it's a '09 or a '10 M6 stick shift in white.
Okay.
I saw that. I think it was sick.
It's not flying off the shelf for $59.9. You're not finding another one. There was a few hundred produced. A Alpine white one with 30-something thousand miles. Like, dude, that's like an F1 car. A V10 motor, stick shift, like big body, and it sounds so good.
It's gotta sound sick.
Like,
What are your 3 favorite Porsche colors?
God, RS green, Riviera blue, and pastel orange.
3 favorite
rapid
car
fire.
colors overall.
Black, black, black.
Okay. If you were Batman, what would you drive?
Carrera GT.
In black.
If you were a rapper, what would you drive?
Maybach. Without a doubt. I love the Maybach.
All right.
See, like honestly, if you say like what if you had endless money, I wouldn't go buy a Bugatti. I know it's really cool, and I know
It never
Supercar
really
Heather's gonna
tickled my
kill me.
itch, yeah.
No, none of these crazy.
Never revved my engine.
I love like it's these cars are artwork, right? I get off on like the numbered aspect things. Like
Okay.
I recently had an SLR McLaren that
For me, that's Batman's car.
I agree.
That is
You're right.
Batman's car.
I had a black, so I always dreamed of that car, and when they got down to a price point of around 200,000.
Okay.
begging my father to buy this car. He's like,
I'm begging my father to buy one now.
crazy. And I'm not buying the expensive to maintain, so we didn't buy it, whatever. And then they went to like mid threes, and then out of nowhere, I just saw a car listed for like 280, and I called up, and I was like, it was like an off lease Mercedes shop, like secondary shop, not a franchise store that sold a lot of like, 3-year-old, S classes, E classes, whatever, but on volume. They probably had like 500 cars in inventory.
Wow.
So this was an oddball for them. So I called up, and they're like, "Oh, it's a friend of the owner's car." So I'm like, "Okay, you're asking 280. Wire today. What's the number?" And he comes back on the phone. He's like 240, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, we're close enough. I don't even, what's going on? So I put it on mute. And I'm like, to Louis, I'm like, I think we're buying an SLS. SLR today. And we did.
How long did a car like that stay in your inventory?
Okay, so I had a bloodline of a car that so all my cars that I own now are in the dealer. This car, I had a bloodline of a car that I own personally, tax paid. So you get a tax credit when you buy a car personally. So this car I wanted to have because it was like, a dream of mine, and it got away when my father was begging him to buy it. He didn't buy it. But long story short is when I got the opportunity to buy it, I said, you got to have it. I registered it, kept it, probably stayed for 4.5 years in my collection. But what it came down to is like, I thought that car should be $1 million car, just like the Carrera GT. When it was the Enzo, the Carrera GT, and the SLR,
Okay.
the SLR did not and still has not done what like a Carrera GT when I bought that car was $300,000, right? So now that's like 1.5 to 2, depending on spec, mileage, whatever. The SLR is still 3 and change, right? So it doesn't make sense, and I don't know why. I've had it for long enough, and at my age now, with my kids and whatever, I don't want to go to a place. I go to drop them school, the doors go up. It's like such a statement car.
It's loud.
And it's very finicky and the maintenance conscious. So, and I became more of a Porsche person. So I got an opportunity for a black 4-liter, which I had a pastel 4-liter GT3 RS 2011. That was just an incredible car, and I wish I could keep that forever, but I basically had to use that as a bridge to grow my business and sell and show a good return to the investor, yada, yada, yada. So when this opportunity for a black one came up, which is very, very rare, they made like maybe a third of them in black out of the U.S. cars for like 141 total.
So it's like the silver, like the accents, like the silver, like
yeah,
like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So like the car was $200,000 new. I mean, it's public information. I paid a little over $800,000 for the car, and I used that as a trade, my SLR, and I thought that would be a good car for the future because I just see these GT3 RS 4-liters just they're so rare, and it's the top 911 that was ever built in my opinion. So as time goes on,
997 GT3 RS 4.0, you're saying?
yes,
Yeah, okay.
2011. They made some in 10, I think, but whatever color you have in that car is incredible. My car has 1,900 miles, and that's a car that I just definitely don't want to sell. But the SLR, like you said, Batman, crazy car, but it just was still too flashy for me.
If you were a guy my age or his age that had, let's say, 10K, 12K in your pocket, and you really wanted a good enthusiast style car, is there something in your head that you would recommend people out there to go for?
I mean, like, I love, like, older 3 Series. I think they're great cars, and you can mod them and make them look, if you put, like, AC Schnitzers on them. Like,
What do you mean by older?
Like, so,
E30?
like, 80s, yeah, E30. Like, an E30, I love the convertible or the coupes. A little dinky car, but, like, anything from that era, I love. Whether it's even Mercedes, if it's not, like, you see how these AMG Hammers are just going through the roof.
Yeah.
I used to see these cars on the side of the road in Bed-Stuy, like, just left over like trash. And now they're going for $1 million. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, there's some areas over here in Mount Vernon. You see a lot of them.
Yeah.
Would you buy modified cars? Like if
No.
cars? Okay. Would you sell modified cars?
So I'll strip it down and bring it back to stock.
Okay.
It's things like plug and play, like an exhaust or rims or something. Like if you go to my website, you probably, out of like, I don't know, 2,000 cars on there, you'll probably see 5 that have an aftermarket set of rims. I'm such a stickler with everything having to be a certain
You'd
way.
leave the classic radio, right?
Yeah, I mean, like on the Porsche, on the older cars, it depends. Like, the radios I deal with once the time of sale comes, but if it was my car, I'd prefer to put in the Porsche Classic radio. Yeah, of course. Like in my 94 Flakbau, I just ordered one, a Turbo S, another dream car.
That thing is sick.
Yeah,
So
that's
what's
a
in
crazy
your,
car.
this is the last question I'll ask before we go on to the next segment is, and I ask this for a lot of people, your dream 3-car garage. And our parameters are, the first car is a daily driver. It's unlimited budget. Your second car is a weekend car, and your third car is a grail car. It's almost like a museum piece. You might not even drive it. You just look at it. You drink coffee, sit next to it.
Carrera GT is always going to be my grail car.
Okay, so that's the grail car.
I mean, the daily driver. I mean, I love my Maybach, the 57S. Everyone thinks I'm crazy. Everyone says it's just so unreliable. 6 years, we've had a great relationship. No fights, no arguments, nothing.
Wow.
Not like it's just been
Gotta marry her.
wear and tear stuff. Regular marriage. Nothing's been crazy.
That's great.
Sex has been great. Everything's been wonderful. No, I built my business in like the back of that car, basically. But yeah, that was an amazing car. And what was the third type of?
Your weekend car, something to carve up the canyons.
90, so like, my
4.0.
cousin, it'll be the 4.0 or the Turbo S flat bow. I love the 94 Turbo S flat bow. That's my favorite.
Do you like 930 flat noses?
Yeah,
Flat noses?
yeah. That's a great car, an amazing car. It reminds me of like the Miami Vice.
Yeah.
Not about
I
it.
just bought a black one.
I like them.
I think they're a little too much money for the clientele base. Like, I try to focus on inventory that is from our generation when we grew up that people dreamed to have.
Okay.
Stopping with like a Testarossa and the slant nose, like pre-80s, I don't get involved. Like 70s, I don't get involved in. Early 80s, I really don't get involved in. But the slant nose is an interesting car because for some reason it hasn't caught on to the younger generations because I feel like over 300,000 is a hard price point for like a younger guy to get into.
Right.
Like a 997 turbo is a lot of car for 100 grand or 120 grand. Affordable was an MSRP of 160 grand, so it's still a value buy.
What do you think the most reliable air-cooled car is?
None of them. no, they're all reliable. I swear. Well, every freaking air-cooled car is reliable. It's what
I'm
comes
killing
with
my
the-
business.
Yeah, he's like half his clients are calling.
It's what comes with the territory. They're gonna leak. They're gonna sweat. They're gonna have little stupid things, but they're gonna be reliable. They're gonna start. They're gonna run.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So basically, what we've done here in this next segment, which is called Cash or Trash,
I like Humper Dump.
is Humper Dump is great too. It's we're not gonna be able to sell that to the advertisers that we don't have yet. We have two like iconic collectors' cars. Tell us if you would take or leave each of them, and then after, if you had to pick one, which one would you pick? So our first one is the old school Bronco versus the old school Defender.
Can I trash them both?
You can trash them both. Why?
I would trash them both because I think, in my opinion, the G Cabrio is, if in that type of genre, like type of car, is the better car and the more hip, trendy car for the future.
The G-Wagon?
Yeah, the G.
Those
like,
don't exist.
They don't exist. They're hard to find.
Yeah,
but
you can get them in Europe, right?
But that's what but there's enough of them around. If you want to get one, you could find one if you know somebody. Like, again, that's why it's too easy. Like, so everyone in the Hamptons used to drive around in a Defender. Then the Bronco made cool. They get a Bronco. And now they get a new Bronco. It's like, it's a Me Too thing. You can't find the G Cabrio electric power top, right?
We got one customer that has one.
Really?
Yes.
I just sold one. I had it for sale for like so long, and then I put it on Bring a Trailer, and it did what it was supposed to do. $200,000. You know, and that was a G320. The 500s go for like $350, $450. I mean, Kendall Jenner paid $750,000 for one of them. I think it was a final edition, but they could be found. That's what it comes down to. It's like more of an astute collector that understands. So it's not. I mean, they're fun cars for what they are, but no.
If you had to pick either of them, had to.
A 97 Defender. Yeah.
Yep, color?
Yellow.
Yep, me too.
All right. Good.
Pure taste. Pure class.
All right, so we have the Mark IV Supra versus the what is that, Mark III RX-7?
This is another aspect
Bruno.
of my business. Of course, the Supra. I love the Supra. So after I started getting into SLs, not that I went down a JDM route, these were cars that like were in the high school parking lot when I was 18 years old, right? You know, like the rich kid had it or an older kid had it, but I bought. So this is also part of my vision with things. Like I bought like 3 Supras for like 30, 40, 50 grand with like 10,000 miles, 8,000 miles, which then I later sold for like double or triple the value, the price, which then that helped grow my business. Everyone says, why'd you sell them? And how you asked me before, the car business, it's business for me. Yeah. So and I
Nothing
remember
sentimental about your wife. It's
They're
the only thing you won't sell.
Of course.
Yeah.
You
Your
behave.
kids, questionable.
But
wife keeper.
Yeah, these cars though, like I knew they were blue chips, and these are stepping stones to growing my business. So it's a great memory to have. But even the RX-7, I had like 5 of them at
Really?
one time. Oh my god, I was buying these cars with under 10,000 miles for like 30 grand, 20 grand. A white one I had with 12,000 miles was gorgeous. These are awesome cars. When I had a black tan, which by the way was in the bloodline of the SLR, I owned that car. And I remember cars that I sold these for to buy other inventory and how important that was at that time. Supra all day long though.
So cash both?
Yeah. No, you want to hear something funny? Driving wise, the RX-7. you feel more of like a, because it's more of a mid-engine center of gravity. I think that car drives 10 times better than a Supra.
Okay.
You know, the boost or whatever in the Supra would. I just think there's the whole thing about, you know, a Supra. Everybody loves the Supra. The Supra. The Supra. The Supra.
Yep.
If I was gonna drive one cross country, it'd be the RX-7. If I want to look at one and like have the good car, the it car, it's the Supra. I don't know. I kind of would keep them both.
Yeah, that's a tough one.
I would trash them both.
Really?
I don't like Japanese cars.
I like the RX-7. All right, this is a really tough one. We got a 918 or the LaFerrari.
Neither.
Trash them both?
Trash them both.
Wow.
But honestly, I would take them both. I would sell them, and I would take the money and buy like 20 insane like
Porsches.
real older cars.
Which one would you buy to sell, and which one would you buy to have?
Oh, God.
If you had to take one, if they made you.
I gotta have a 918. I mean, I know the LaFerrari's worth more and everything. You can't look at it money wise, but like, if I were to drive one, if they were equal, the 918 for sure.
I agree.
Without a doubt.
I can't. It's got to be Ferrari for me. Even though, you know, Porsche's Porsche, but it's got to be Ferrari.
It's been a tough one for us recently. We've had both in the shop. We had the one on the right. We have the AMG, the Cosworth, or the E30 M3.
I love them both. How do you not love them both? Like this is my era. Like this is my world. You know.
You think they're both buys?
Today, absolutely. Still.
Yeah,
still? I still think so. If you get any good car, you cannot pay too much for, because go find another example of it.
Yeah.
I still think an E30 M3. If you have, I mean, like high mileage ones are going for like mid ones and stuff.
Yeah.
So if you find like the right spec one, specifically a red or a white, I mean, there's no price. There's not a wrong price. But for long-term investment, I think your 150 can go on other cars that you can make more money. But for the money, that's a lot of car for the money. The Mercedes, unbelievable car.
So sick.
It's so freaking sick. A lot of these cars also, it's hard because it burns, because you remember when they were like really cheap.
Free. Yeah.
Yeah. So like.
You remember how many you walked away from for like $500?
Oh
Yeah.
No
What's
idea.
the worst car you walked away? Like the biggest regret was like $500. You're just being an idiot.
Dude, there's so many cars. This car.
Yeah.
I
Porsche
I
world
never
is
look back
scary.
though. You know, you
can't.
look back. But there's so many cars. If it's a good, you know, the main thing I notice now is you just got to take the shot. You know, you got to just get in the game. So that's why, like, also people ask me now, why do I put some cars on Bring a Trailer if I have such a good following or whatever?
And when do you do that?
When did I start doing that?
No, like when are you like, all right, at this point I'm not selling it?
Well, with the amount of cars that we have, cash flow is very important in the business. So just win, lose, or draw. I'll put some cars up that what exactly I'm into them for, or even a little bit less, and take the gamble and just turn the money. You know, so and also I think if someone gets a deal on it, I'm happy too. I want the customer to be happy. Customer, car, then money, right? So and then I think
gets out there.
Yeah, and the marketing you get on Bring a Trailer for free with their exposure is just tremendous, right? So and we have great quality cars. So I just put an 1,100-mile white 997 turbo on Bring a Trailer. You know, that's a wild Bring a Trailer type of car. So I just think it's another, like, there's Auto Trader, there's Car Gurus, there's Carfax, and there's, in my opinion, Bring a Trailer. You know, so
Of those two, what are you taking? The Benz or the Beamer?
I think the Beamer.
I'm a Benz guy. I think to find a Mercedes Benz with a stick shift is super special.
Right, that's true. But that, I don't know, the red really got me in that picture.
So a couple more quick questions. What is the car that like you cannot like flies off the lot, like you can't hold it?
997 GT3s.
Just sell like nothing.
They just go. Like today, I mean, any GT3 that comes in, whether it's a 991, a 997, just flies off the shelf.
What's your biggest moneymaker?
997 turbos, without a doubt. That was a car that we kind of, you know, are known for making the market, so to speak, of the definitely the .2 generation. I mean, we sold over 200 out of 296 coupes. We sold over 100 of the 192 convertibles, and the 997.1s we sold, I don't know, close to 500 of them probably. Wow. But you know, we kind of not built up the number or the value of them, but made people understand the value of them, the difference between ceramic brakes and the options together, and how that chemistry just makes certain like we had a yellow one. Yellow stitching, yellow wheels, yellow this, yellow that. People say ugly this, but you know what? The freaking car was like 170 spec, and everyone felt that it should have done like, you know, what a normal car would do, you know, of 120, did 165 grand.
How important are the options? Like to have like a highly optioned car.
So it gets to a point where it's good. You know, you could have a stripper. You could have like a car that's built properly, which I would say properly is just like the right option. Sports seats, like the lower painted valances, maybe some aluminum trim or whatnot, but like once you get to the carbon and the crazy, you know, deviating stitching's good, but once you get like the crazy overbuilt cars, To some degree, it could do that well, but it really doesn't, because then you're on a 997, we're past the point of where the value is for depreciation. But on like a newer version of a Porsche, it's not good to overbuild it. No way, no how.
Is there any options that are like options gone bad? Like at a time, like people were like, "This is what you want," and then now you're like, "I do not want a full nav screen."
Carbon. I would say carbon in GT3s, or in any like older generation Porsche.
Yeah, they yellow.
They yellow. They peel. They crack. I always find that as like a negotiating point. They see like it folded up a little bit. It's like lifting or whatever. And the truth is, it's very expensive to replace all that stuff. Wood as well. Like,
Yeah.
It's just, and you can't match it.
You know how like in the 991s, the door trims kind of peel up.
Yeah.
Anything else like that you're always looking for? That you're like
The Achilles heel type of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know. Is there anything on a 99 or these cars that we look at?
996, the IMS.
The headlights always are stuff, but that's common on any car. But they delaminate a little bit, but nothing. Porsches are great cars. They're built so well. They're built tough. They're built strong. You don't really have any Achilles heels and stuff.
I think they say 70% of the cars that were ever sold are still on the road.
Yeah, true. But also, it's another factor is like it's relative to Ferrari as well, like sticky buttons. There's always it's just like the era type things in all these type of sports cars. So.
The last thing that I want to ask you, and then I want you to plug and promote as much of your stuff as possible and give you some time to I have one final closing question, but we like to ask people their car world and or business world pet peeve and recommendation. So it literally anything.
My pet peeves are related to the business, not like a specific thing, but it's like things that should be common sense. But it's not fair for me to say what should be common sense for me or somebody else, but there should be some level. But the main thing of common sense, if you're not sure, is communication. Like my pet peeve is when people just kind of just take it upon themselves to just make decisions when, with technology, we're just a text away or a phone call away. And you could avoid so much turmoil, whether it's like a waste of time or waste of money or something that could have salvaged the deal. I just, communication is so key. My pet peeve is communication. Like, call me. Like, communicate with me. Like, I'm always there. I answer the freaking phone in the goddamn shower. My child was born while my wife was still cut open. I answered a call. It's crazy, but my wife doesn't. She is like, hoorah. She's like, she knows who she married. Like, she knew.
she's a partner.
Oh, yeah.
Not a parasite.
She just believed in me. She really, really, really believed in me. So, like, she doesn't break my chops for any of that stuff.
You're here right now.
Yeah.
It's late. It's late on a Friday night, and he is here right now.
So would your
that may mean nothing.
My
to Robbie and his
recommendations
business.
are just to with your
Pick a good wife.
Pick a good wife for sure. That's without a doubt, because I almost went sideways one way with me, but again.
What?
I almost married my college sweetheart. Oh boy, that was trouble. I don't get beat up on this for her. She still blames me for things, but
You're a sweet girl.
oh boy, you're a sweet girl.
That's right. I've come close to making some mistakes. It's okay.
No, but my wife, I would not be where I am without her. Not a freaking chance. No way, no how.
I love that.
She has picked me off the floor. I mean, trust me. Everyone sees the fancy stuff. Like, they don't see when like things go wrong or bullets are coming your way, and besides you can't just dodge them. You can't get off the floor. Like, there's a lot of struggles with it, and you need a good partner to be supportive of you for that.
If someone needs a very specific car, like if someone's looking for like this gen, this color, these options,
You're calling the wrong person.
Do not call you.
No.
Stay away.
No.
Okay.
Because I always get too fat, too short, too skinny, too this.
Mm-hmm.
It comes in, the door, this little thing. No. I have enough cars, and I can't chase stuff for you. And if you want me to give you my opinion on something you found, I don't want anything for it. You can call me 10 times. I'll help you. You can come by and show me a car. I'll put it on the lift for you. I'll do push-ups in that form. But just a wild goose chase, it's just hard.
What would you tell 16-year-old Ryan Friedman if you could go back?
God, what would I tell 16-year-old Ryan Friedman right now? Holy shit. I would say...
More girls, right? More girls.
Oh, God, I don't even know.
It's a tough one.
Tough one. I would tell him just stay the path that you thought you were going to go.
Trust yourself.
Yeah, trust yourself. Because I never imagined in my wildest dreams that the business would be where it is now. I'm doing the numbers. I mean, we're basically buying $1 million in cars a week and selling $1 million in cars a week. It does not make sense.
And where can people find you? Social media, websites?
Ryan Friedman Motorcars. our social media, website rfmc.com. At 516-888-9000, you could just text and you'll get me. Like, literally, at 2 in the morning, I'm going to answer the text as crazy as
That's
it is.
awesome.
So.
Well, look, I think Elvis is pushing us out the door. So, Ryan, thank you so much. That was absolutely amazing.
This was awesome.
Pleasure.
And guys, follow us for more. This episode's going to come out soon. And, you know, thanks for joining us, and join us in the next one. You're supposed to be finding him a girlfriend, bro. Come on. We got to work on this.
I'm an A-type person.
All right, just pop in the frame quick. Pop in the frame.
Harrison.
Just so everyone knows, we're having a really crazy
Look.
party for this guy. Just
Look at
right
this
in
big.
between us. Get
Come
right
here.
in
Come on.
there.
Come on in, Harrison.
We're gonna have a really crazy birthday for this guy. We're gonna pull up in a Cullinan and a Maybach. If you wanna come, hit us up. We're ready to go.
So I met Harrison. He solicited me to come to a car meet before a car show. We roll in. He's like, promoted, whatever. It's just me and my cousin Barrett. We're there, and he's taking pictures of our cars, and we're like, this kid's adorable. So like. I'm like, you want to ride in the car? He's like, of course. So I'm like, all right. He just didn't leave me alone. It's just like I turn around, like Harrison's there. Like do you want to hang out? He's texting me all the time. So, you know what? He's a good kid.
Where it's like, are you hanging out with a 20-year-old guy? And you're like, yeah, hard to explain. It's hard to explain.
Right. And trust me, there was many situations like that because.
No, there's not. No, there's not. No, there's not. No, there's not.
But no, he does. He's an incredible photographer. Nobody takes pictures like
Love it.
Harrison. HJK Photography is just literally on Instagram. Nobody takes pictures.
HKJ.
It's your turn. Come on, Heather. Get in here. Get your shine, Heather.
But no one's getting
Bring the flowers. Bring the flowers.
Bring the flowers.
I got Heather these flowers. I found them on the sidewalk on the way here.
All right, Supercar Heather.
Proud of them.
I met Supercar Heather because she car spots. You go to the Miracle Mile, where the fanciest stores are. You're looking around, and you're like, who's walking around? Oh, there's Supercar Heather. Pictures of that new Lambo posted right in the parking lot. Her dedication and devotion to what she does is like no other, and I just see something so big in her, bright in her future.
Wow.
And I always told her, like, I wanted her to come around and help and do work with us, and I was always admiring her like attention to detail and every aspect of it, and there's just not people like that. So I don't care what age, race, size, shape, whatever you are, if you're in that same world of what I do, like I want those people around me. And like Heather now has finally, you know, she hates to have all the cars in my inventory. She's only into like newer cars, Aventadors. Her favorite car is Aventador SVJ. It's a complete piece of trash. You can go on Manheim and OVE and find 50 of them for sale.
It's true.
That's what she's. Don't attack me, Heather. It's just she now has come because of her vision with social media. She does a lot of videos for us, reels for us, stuff. And I want to help grow her business for whatever it is she wants to do. I've told her I want nothing for it, Heather. I just want you to find.
What is the business? What is your business?
Brokering cars, connecting people.
Okay.
Just anything in the car world to connect people from
Automotive socialite.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. But she could do it, and any help I can give to along the way, because that's something also, like, you get to a point where in your life, and I'm not at that point where I want to give back and whatever and this and that. She doesn't need my help, right? None of these people do. They could do it on their own, but I had help along the way that, you know, without it, I wouldn't have got to where I've gotten as fast. So if I could be an aid to people that will also help me and look out for me, fuck yeah. Are you kidding me? That gets me more high than anything else.
I love it.